Okay, so as you guys know, Kale wants to represent everybody in the district, especially, people our age. So the past couple days, we've all been reaching out to, people 18, 19, 20, asking them, do they think they have a voice in government, and what it is that they think the issues are that the youth are dealing with in Utah. And at least for me, when I was kind of going through these, I kind of agreed with all of them. Like I almost felt like at the end of it, like, oh, I could have said this, you know what I mean? What were you guys finding as far as the issues?
I just find that a lot of times people do give me very long responses, which is how I know that young people do care. And just because they haven't voted before doesn't mean that they're not invested in the election.
Totally.
Jacob, what did you see?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of saw the same thing where people have this discrepancy between like, I know what to believe in, but I don't know who to believe in. And that's kind of what we're trying to communicate to these voters. And I feel like a lot of people see it kind of as like a lifeline, because we're saying, okay, well, here's Kale's platform and here's how he's going to help you. And I feel like as a youth, I've never seen a candidate reach out to me before. And so it makes you wonder, like, do candidates really care about young people our age? Like,
Well, were you guys seeing, I was seeing that a lot too. I was seeing a lot of people who were saying, like, I don't feel like people care. And then a lot of people who were like impressed or responded well to the fact that Kale, wanted to get in touch and get to know the youth issues and what it is that we care about. Not just issues, but the youth issues here in Utah. Were you guys saying that that was like being responded to well too?
Yeah, I'm saying like no one has reached out to me. And I'm just thinking this huge voting base. Utah is one of the youngest states in the country. And the fact that no one has reached out to them, like, is just bizarre.
No,
seriously.
No, completely.
People talking about mental health.
Mental health, yeah. I got a lot of mental health. A lot of people were talking.
Probably
I relate with.
Oh yeah.
Come on, yeah.
Yeah, seriously. It just feels like as like a young person, it's hard to be happy all the time. We live in a world where like people expect you to just be happy, and we have so many issues struggling us, whether it's with school, how to pay for our groceries, how to pay like for our rent bill. And it just sometimes feels like, oh, no one cares. Like politicians are focused on all these other people, and the young people are just kind of left, with no solutions.
Actually, this kind of brings up an interesting point. I have a question for you guys. What do you think is the main contributor for like why people our age don't think that politicians care about them? I mean, I personally don't think all politicians really care about young people, but
I think we're like kind of cynical and maybe a little bit got a way better BS detector than some people, because we're very exposed to political scandals. And I think that we see a lot of that happening because the way social media works, all this stuff doesn't just get swept under the rug. It comes out and you see politicians as people, and people make mistakes. And so the more and more that you see that, the easier it is to feel like, well, these people don't care about us. They're just in it for the money, or they're in it because they want power, and they're not really listening to their constituents. And I think a lot of people feel like that in Utah, because when you reach out to your politician that represents you, they don't respond to you. And
yeah, exactly.
They're not going to respond to an 18-year-old who doesn't have any money to donate to their campaign.
Oh yeah, seriously.
Like, they don't care. They don't respond to you. They don't, like, I've written a billion emails to so many politicians and you never hear back. And half of our volunteers say that that's like why it's so important to them to work for Hale, is because we don't get responses from other people. And I just think don't get that.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And like, we see, as Maddie was saying, all these scandals, like all this like crap with money coming out, and we're like, well, do politicians really care about me, or do they care about getting a paycheck? And that's really what it comes down to. And we're like, well, I have these issues that I'm struggling with, and I really need someone to represent me. I really need someone to go to Congress and say, these are the issues that young people are dealing with, and this is the solution that we have that we want to propose. And it really just seems like all they're thinking about, oh, what issue can I bring up that's going to give me the most donations to get me reelected so I can keep getting a paycheck?
Yeah. No, I agree full-heartedly. Well, back to what what it is that we want to be talking about here. Like, what is it when we were reaching out? I mean, what was it that you guys were just seeing the most of? You know, because we were asking youth, you know, what is it that you think is the biggest issue that we're facing here in Utah, you know, as a young generation? And I mean, what like, let's just name off like some things, like top things we were hearing just real quick.
Climate change.
Health,
Climate change,
for
yeah.
sure.
Mental health. Yeah.
Racial inequality for sure.
Inequality, okay. When people were talking about racial inequality, were people talking about it as if in the first person, or were they more like it more in a
Both, yeah. I mean, I see what you're saying, like both. You know, I really feel like we get a lot of crap for being like a selfish generation. And I've really seen so much of people just like looking out for each other.
I
You
have
know?
too, actually. I agree with that. I do think so.
Mhm.
But what other issues though? Like, so, you know, we were getting a lot about mental health, racial inequality. What else was it that we were seeing?
A lot of education, a lot of like lack of education funding,
Yeah.
like the student debt crisis,
Mhm.
and not like affordable housing. Cannot.
Yeah, I was thinking a lot of
So
those.
much impact.
Yeah. A lot of people I was texting, at least, they were telling me like they don't know what they're gonna do. Like they don't even know how they can go to school, work a job,
Yeah.
and move out. Like it,
Exactly,
it just doesn't add up. Like it doesn't. And I'm even dealing with that. Like I don't know how I'm gonna do that.
Mhm. Seriously.
Yeah.
What about like women's rights? Did you guys see a lot of people talking about women's rights?
Yeah.
I saw a little bit. Yeah, I did see some on women's strikes. I'm trying to think. What else was I getting a lot of? I think that there were you guys kind of noticing too, there were some people who had like a lot to say, and then others who just like they really just cared about this one thing.
Yeah.
I
What
think
was
people are very diverse in the issues that they care about, and it's like that says a lot about them. But I also think it's because everyone's dealing with so many different issues that they kind of bring a different perspective to the table, and they're just trying to tell us like, hey, a lot of people were getting very specific with me, and I don't know if you saw that, but they were like, yeah, I can't move out and I would love to. Like, I don't want to live with my parents anymore. I want to live on my own, and they can't. And it's like, I don't know what to tell them, because I think that all of us on this call even are feeling the same thing. Like,
Yeah.
definitely no. Was there anything that you guys got that surprised you that you had never thought about before?
Yeah, I mean, I had some people like going back to racial inequality. I had someone who said, like they don't feel like their voice is heard in government because they're a child of immigrants. And you know, that really struck me. I'm like, wow, this is an issue that I haven't had to deal with. You know, I was born to like middle class white parents, like in the United States, and I've never had to deal with like racial inequality or like immigration inequality. And there are just so many issues that like other people our age have to deal with that we don't even have any idea about. And like while we can't understand these issues, and like while we can't necessarily completely put ourselves in their shoes, we have to like be there for each other in a sense, and we have to listen to other people's struggles.
And I think, I mean, we're all here on a call talking about, you know, issues, but we're all white. I mean, we probably have a very, you know, limited view on what it is that some of these people are facing, which, you know, like what you said, Jacob, like, I think reading some of these, it did change my perspective on a lot of things, you know, reaching out.
yeah, I was talking to a young, like, transgender individual who said that they feel that they are forced into voting for a certain party because the other side doesn't acknowledge that they even deserve to have rights. And that was very startling to me, because obviously I've picked a party that I want to represent me, but voting has never been a choice like that for me. And I think that shows how much privilege that I have. And it just makes you realize that a lot of people, this election is their life. And it's their ability to get things that they so desperately need, and it hinges on this. And that was like a really startling moment for me. Is like, the right to exist is not even acknowledged. And that's really scary. And
That's actually so true. No, yeah, you're right.
Like, my right to exist does not hinge on this election, but some people it does.
Yeah,
seriously.
That's definitely true. But I mean, what is existence? Like,
yeah.
When I think existence, I'm like, I know this is a little dramatic, but am I like really existing in my life if I can't move out and I'm living in my parents' house forever? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's like, and then it's like, can we live? Like, do we even have the means to live?
And like, I remember you bringing that conversation up to us, Maddie, and thinking about like my life, you know, like as a gay man in Utah with like a majority Christian population, how can I vote for like Chris Stewart, who has said that he wants to ban gay marriage? You know, like how can I choose between one party who says you don't have the right to love and like another party, you know? It feels like we're just forced between like the option that doesn't even give us basic rights and the other option, you know? And I feel like that's really frustrating to young voters for a variety of reasons in a variety of situations.
I feel the same way with like reproductive rights, because obviously it's not the same, but you look at a party where they don't look to giving women access to abortions and contraceptives and even sexual education. Like, so many people brought that up to me, is like, we need sex ed in Utah and we don't have it. And we need access to all of these things. And again, it's another one where like, it's really life and death, because some people will not be able to survive without getting an abortion or having access to birth control, which is it's a pill that solves a lot of different medical issues, and you know, preventing pregnancy is just one of those things. And it's very hard to tell me that I have to decide between one party that's like, no, none of that, like, we don't want to give money to it, we're not going to fund any of these organizations. You want to get screened for cancer, like, we don't care. And then another party that does support it, I think it's just a lot of young people are facing a choice where they don't really have a choice, and I don't think that that's democracy.
Oh, I agree. No, I get exactly what you mean. Yeah, it's like, yeah.
Well, I feel like, I mean, I feel like this is really just kind of sum up, you know, I really feel like this whole experience has just given us a much better opportunity to learn about what young people are facing. Because, you know, like as one person like me, like I can't understand what all the young people in Utah are facing, or like even with the three of us, like we can sit here and talk about like our issues forever, and we're still not going to have like a full scope on like what young people feel in this district or the state of this country or this world, you know. And I feel like it's nice, it's refreshing to like have a candidate who cares about all those people, you know, because we've never really seen that. And like, it's really cool to have Kale who's like, hey, I really want to know what all the young people in Utah are feeling. And
exactly. So like, that never happens.
Yeah, exactly.
I think there's a lot of young people in Utah who don't even get that from their parents.
Oh yeah.
And this brings me into, I think this is something that a lot of times, you know, I think a lot of people don't want to talk about it, especially politicians and older generation. And this is nothing, no hard feelings, but I mean, here in Utah, I feel like we're unique in some of the issues we might have sometimes, especially social issues with youth. And one thing that comes to mind that I think a lot of people don't really want to talk about, or because it, you know, it's not the easiest thing to talk about, is the LDS Church, and culturally how that's kind of impacted the lives of youth in Utah. I mean,
we need campaigns and officials and local representatives all the way down that represent the diverse population in Utah, because it's not 100% Mormon state, and
it's getting even more diverse.
That needs to be like visible to the greater world and this country, that it's not 100% LDS. We're a melting pot, super like diverse interests and values, and a mix of liberal and Republicans, and it makes us better. It makes us a better place, and we deserve representation that shows that.
So I guess then, just to kind of summarize all of the issues, I mean, what I've got is, mental health, just, people kind of being worried about what they're going to do, when they move out, or just, a livable wage, or finding a way to live. A couple more things. What else was it that they're?
Climate change, for sure.
Yeah.
That one, yeah.
I think people don't say that issue as much because it's like not really an issue, more like an existential threat. Like an issue feels kind of small for something that happens from living on this planet in like 70 years.
Yeah, totally. And whether you believe in climate change or not, I mean, like in Utah, we're facing more than just climate change. I mean, climate change is a global problem, but like, I mean, we have someone told me this the other day, we have the 10th worst air quality in the entire world.
It's pretty awesome.
That's harming us. I mean, we're going to be sick. If you live in Salt Lake, I mean, we're already seeing it, but like, you're going to have lung problems. You're going to have all sorts of like health problems from this pollution that we live in every day. And you have to ask yourself, like, if you don't believe in climate change, do you believe in what you see outside your window? Because even if the inversion isn't related to climate change, it can't just go on like this. It just can't. We have to do something.
I agree.
Well, and in Utah, like, clean air is a pretty much bipartisan issue.
It should, yeah. Yeah, why is it taking so long to do anything? Like,
yeah. That's my question is, if we all agree that the air quality is a problem, and then we have representatives of the state that don't believe in climate change, then how does that add up? If the people in the state have majority voted that they think air pollution is a problem, but their representatives don't care, then like, are we being represented well? No.
Yeah, no, not at all. The question I was asking a lot of you is, do you feel like politicians care about people our age? And overwhelmingly, the responses I got back was no.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. I think we kind of all relate a little bit on that there, but.
Well, I don't know. I guess I'm glad to be part of a continual effort to learn more about youth, and I know like it's really important to kill, and I'm glad to work for a potential congressman who puts our values first.
Yeah, and not only puts our values first, but he's willing to listen.
Like to hear those values in the first place.
Yeah, I mean, we just got off a call with Kale that was supposed to be 5 minutes, and it went an hour and a half. I mean, who does that? You know what I mean?
Yeah, like, because he cares. It's not a photo op. It's like, he actually cares. No, like Kale was telling us earlier, like during our call, he was saying, like, when I go get my haircut and they ask me what I do for a living, I don't tell them that I'm running for Congress. He's like, oh, I say I'm a teacher or a writer, because I don't want it to be about I'm running for Congress. I want it to be about, like, I care about you and your issues as a person, like not as a politician. And I think that's something that we really need in Congress, just in politicians in general, in government.
Yeah. I really do think Kale is like the candidate who is going to like give us a seat at the table. And when I say us, I don't mean just youth or people our age. I mean everybody. Like, and I feel like that's so overused in politics, like just people. What, you're laughing, Maddie? What?
I mean, it is overused. Like, it's kind of a cliche, but it's so true in the sense that, like, if you think about it, Kale has already given young people a seat at this table, like not letting us, but, we work on this campaign, and I think that there's not a lot of campaigns that would have an entire team composed of, like, people the age of 25, and that's what we're doing. And I think that it shows that he has a lot of faith in young people, and he put his money where his mouth is. Like, it's one thing to say that you think young people are the future and you're hopeful about them, and then it's another thing to let them run
the entire field program.
Yeah, I mean, like, the average age of our field department is 20.
Literally.
Like, that's awesome.
I mean, 19.
22.
Yeah, 20.
I mean, we're missing so many key members of the team, and we can't say the entire field team is this age.
No, but this
Kathy, and we love. Oh my gosh, what would we do without Kathy?
Yeah, seriously. So yeah, you can't say like, oh, young people are the exclusive solution to all of our issues, you know, but we do have our own issues and we do have solutions, you know. That's another important part is like it's not like us as young people, like we're just coming to the table with like problem, 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 problem. We also have like our own thoughts about like how to solve those problems. Like here's our problem and here's what we can do about it. And I think that people forget that and they discount youth as like, oh, like they're young and dumb and like inexperienced and they don't really know what they're talking about. But like don't let people tell you that, you know, because like we have been through these issues and we have walked the walk. And I think that we deserve to be able to talk about it, you know?
Great. Yeah. And I think that's one thing like that I love so much about Kale that I feel like just like resonates is like he is there for he has his own perspective, but he really is all about he knows that the best solution we're going to get is by it's like a combination of everybody's perspective. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I just think like whether or not, and at the end of the day, something I've just observed about Kale, like working on the campaign is like, sure, he's got his perspective and whatnot, but like if a bunch of people sit down and have a conversation with him about it, his perspective will change. Like he has a very open mind. Like
Yeah.
you just got to make it, you know, either A, you just got to come to him in numbers and say, you know, like this is us, and he respects that, or it's just like he sees it. He doesn't only respect it, but I feel like he really sees that point of view.
Yeah. He really embodies the idea that like, you know how some people think they're the smartest person in the room? Well, I think Kale thinks that like everyone in the room is the smartest person in the room in a way, which I guess doesn't make a ton of sense, but I think he really like respects the different life experiences that people bring to the table, and he doesn't just listen to people who are like policy experts. I think you see that in his driving around this entire district, which spans like from the top to the bottom of Utah, and actually talking to people, because he's not just looking for people that are experts, because if you think about it, you're the expert of your own life, and Hale wants to know about like those experiences, because only the voters can really explain what they're going through and what they need, which is why he's made it such a point to talk to them.
Yeah. And it's messed up because that's the job. That's literally what it's supposed to be about. And I feel like so many people have fallen away from that. But Kale really understands like that's the job. Is representing everybody, you know?
If he was elected, you know that wouldn't stop. Like,
oh yeah.
There's no like that commitment is just part of who he is.
Yeah. And I mean, our campaign, we haven't been taking any private interest money, any corporation money. Like, there's no one that's going to be whispering in Kale's ear when he becomes congressman besides the people, you know? Like, and I feel like that alone, like, you know, we've got the person we're running against, Chris Stewart, he's got all sorts of people whispering in his ear. Go look online. I mean, it's public record.
Oil companies, you know.
Like, yeah.
People have no stake in the future of the state either.
Yeah,
like
exactly. Like
exactly.
I think we can all agree. I think this is a good note to leave it on. But let's vote Stewart out because he kind of sucks.
Amen.
Amen.
Yeah.